So we've got Grayson County A and Woodford County C. So Grayson A, Woodford C. Yes.
Can I get your first name and last initial starting with you? All right.
Connor A, spelled C-O-N-N-O on it.
Connor A. Right. All right. And you?
Grayson.
Grayson?
Yes. Oh, Pat.
All right.
My name is Rahul. I will be the moderator. Sloan will be our trustee scorekeeper. Before we begin, can we have a vote check, please, so I can view? Okay. I had 3 votes there. All right. Toss up 1. Senior estoppel protects the rights of people who own these objects. Laws about these objects invoke a person having ordinary skill in the art. Their namesake cliff is extended by evergreen. In 2013, the Supreme Court ruled that mere isolation is insufficient for these objects to apply to a gene. These documents are divided into sections for an abstract claims and specifications. Rights to operate search consider these objects that are pending to avoid infringement. In the U.S., these are... That's 10. Your bonus. This author leveraged his Catholic upbringing in the novel Earthly Powers for 10 points each. Name this British author who mused over whether or not bad people being conditioned to do good is morally righteous in his novel A Clockwork Orange. Answer? No, I'm looking for Burgess. This British Catholic author wrote 4 books known as his Catholic novels, including The Power and the Glory and The Heart of the Matter. I'm looking for Green. This British author converted to Catholicism in 1930. In his best-known novel, Lord Marchmain converts from Anglicanism to Catholicism, though Rex Mottram, who plans to convert to Catholicism, does not. I'm looking for Woe. Evelyn Woe. 0 on the bonus. Toss up 2. John Bradmore amazingly saved this monarch from a traumatic arrow to the face that buried 6 inches deep. Henry Scrope and the Earl of Cambridge conspired against this monarch. After this king's death from dysentery, his wife, Catherine of Valois, remarried Owen Tudor. This king would have inherited a throne from Charles VI under the Treaty of Troyes. He fought as a prince at Shrewsbury. This man gave a speech on St. Crispin's Day to rally the longbowmen in the mud at Agincourt. For 10 points, name is Lancaster.
Henry IV.
Sorry. 5. Name is Lancaster king who invaded France during the 100 Years' War. The 5th monarch of this name. Yeah, that's all I needed. Sorry. Your bonus. This event was begun by the Assyrian and Babylonian captivities for 10 points each. Name this event during which Jews were dispersed around the world after being exiled from Israel. Answer? I'm looking for the diaspora. One result of the diaspora was the development of this community of Jews in Eastern Europe. Beginning in the 800s, members of this Jewish culture make up around 3/4 of today's Jewish population worldwide. I'm looking for Ashkenazi Jews. After Cyrus's declaration allowed Jews to return to Israel in 538 BCE, the second version of this structure was built on a namesake mount in Jerusalem. The first one was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. Yep, that is 10 on the bonus. Toss up 3. This author wrote about a boy whose throat is cut by nefarious Jews, but miraculously sings until a grain of wheat is removed from his tongue. This author fictionalized himself as a character whose story about Sir Topas is interrupted for being terribly rhymed. One of his characters,
Jeffrey Chaucer.
power. Your bonus, this element was once more valuable than gold until the Hall Herald process came out for 10 points each. Name this common metal with atomic number 13, which is used in foil and soda cans.
Aluminum.
Yes, 10. On the periodic table, aluminum lies right under the line dividing metals from nonmetals, which is often named for its resemblance for one of these household objects. The metalloids are said to lie in one of these objects.
Staircase.
Yes, 20. This element in the nitrogen group is usually considered a metalloid. It was once used by Paul Ehrlich to treat syphilis. A really bad idea, though nowadays it's used to make semiconductors in combination with gallium. Answer?
Mercury.
I'm looking for arsenic. That's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 4. An artist from this country made a 6-fold panel landscape depicting the 4 seasons moving from left to right. A painting from this country shows a very red mountain with green forests at its bottom, contrasted with a navy sky covered in clouds. Another painter from this country painted 53 post stations in a cycle depicting stops along a major road. Woodcuts from this nation or pictures of the floating world were collected by Claude Monet. A painting from this country shows 3 rowboats larger than a volcano, which is titled for a great wave. For 10 points. Yep, that's 10. Your bonus. This form is repeated every third movement in J.S. Bach's Goldberg variations. 10 points each. Name this musical form, which uses counterpoint to stagger the melody across the different voices. Repeating versions of this form are rounds. A German word in this form has a super repetitive cello part.
Fugue.
I'm looking for canon. This German composer wrote that canon in D, known as his canon. Answer?
No answer.
I'm looking for Pachelbel. This Danish-German Baroque composer and pioneer of organ music wrote 2 canons as well as the cantata cycle Membra Jesu Nostri. His La Capricciosa was a possible influence on Bach's Goldberg variations.
Mendelssohn.
I'm looking for Buxtehude, Dietrich Buxtehude. So that is 0 on the bonus. Toss up 5. Aurora kinases are active during this process. CDC20 and CDH1 regulate this process by activating APC/C to degrade securin. Tim Hunt discovered proteins that sinusoidally oscillate in concentration in sea urchins during this process. In plants, at the end of this process, the phragmoplast develops into the cell plate. P53 prevents entry into this pathway if DNA is damaged. Checkpoints in this process assure that spindles. That's all I needed. That's 10. Your bonus, older objects than these things made out of silver were unearthed at Ketef Hinnom. 10 points each. Name these biblical scrolls that were found by some Bedouins in caves near Quarum and a namesake body of water in Israel, beginning in 1946.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
10. The Dead Sea Scrolls include several books from this section of the Bible, which is often published in between the Old and New Testaments, and includes books like Tobit and Ecclesiasticus. Answer?
Apocrypha.
That's all I needed, 20. After Hebrew, the majority of the Dead Sea Scrolls are written in this Semitic language, which would have been the primary spoken language of Jesus.
Arabic.
No, I'm looking for Aramaic. That is 20 on the bonus. Toss up 6. This city's army missed a battle because they refused to march until a full moon. A heroic soldier from this city survived a battle only because he went half blind after treason was committed by Ephialtes of Trachis. This city lost a battle after getting boxed in on the island of Sphacteria.
Spark.
Power. Your bonus. Public opinion turned against these cities after the shooting of Catherine Steinle in San Francisco in July 2015, for 10 points each. Name these cities that do not enforce federal regulations against illegal immigrants. Answer?
Green City.
No, I'm looking for sanctuary cities. Federal immigration legislation is enforced by this cabinet department, which was created in 2002 and is currently led by Jay Johnson.
Department of Homeland Security.
10. A comprehensive immigration reform bill written by this group of senators in 2013 has been accused of being soft on sanctuary cities. This bipartisan group included John McCain, Marco Rubio, and Chuck Schumer. Answer? And Democrats. I'm looking for the Gang of 8. So that's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 7. Charles Sanders Peirce argued that this concept is the only end for inquiry. Tarski's semantic theory of this concept often invokes the sentence, "Snow is white." It is not power, but beyond good and evil opens by discussing a will to it. For philosophers, the coherence and correspondence theories define this concept. A common definition of knowledge is a justified belief with this property. Wittgenstein's developed namesake tables with 2 to the n rows to determine if an n component statement has this property. 10 points. Name this property possessed by facts.
Truth.
That's all I needed. Your bonus. George Simmel first proposed these concepts for 10 points each. Name these social structures composed of people and the interpersonal dyadic links between them. Facebook is often considered the prototypical example of one. You said social media first, so I can accept that. I needed social networks, both parts. Stanley Milgram contributed to social network thought with his small world experiment, which found that on average it took this many total steps to forward a letter from Omaha to a specific recipient in Boston.
7.
6. People with extremely large social networks called connectors are discussed in this 2000 book, which opens by discussing the unexpected rise in popularity of hush puppy shoes in New York in the 90s.
Trends.
No, the tipping point. So that's 0 on the bonus. Toss up 8. Quality is defined on these diagrams by measuring the distance to each of the saturation dome. These diagrams are drawn as triangles to represent extractions. This diagram is drawn using regions labeled with the Roman numerals 1 through 17 for ice. The slope,
Base diagram.
power. Your bonus. This quantity is defined as the sum over all possible values of probability times value over all possible values for 10 points each. Name this quantity, which is equivalent to the center of mass of a probability distribution. No, expected value. As the number of trials increases, this quantity should converge on the expected value. This quantity represents the average of a data set. That's 10. The expected value is only defined for this quantity of variable, which has an unknown value and a probability distribution determining its potential states. These variables are often symbolized X. Answer?
No.
Unknown.
No, I need random. That's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 7. This poet wrote, "Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal," in a poem imagining footprints on the sands of time. This author stole the meter from the Kalevala for an epic poem whose hero is born when his mother is impregnated by the wind. He wrote, "Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year," referring to the 18th of April in 75. This fireside poet fictionalized the Acadian exile from Canada in a romance between Gabriel and Evangeline. He wrote a song about Minnehaha and her Native American husband, Hiawatha. For 10 points, name this author of Paul Revere's Ride. Yep, that's 10.
That's actually toss-up 9.
Yeah, that was toss-up 9. I apologize for that. Your bonus. Answer the following about the Adams-Onis Treaty for 10 points each. It ceded this modern-day state to the U.S. from Spain. The Seminoles lived in this state. Yes. The treaty also granted Spain this status in trade with the U.S. This status, which grants the lowest possible duties on tariffs exchanged between two countries, was given to the U.S. by China in the Treaty of Wanhia.
Free trade?
No, it's most favored. Most favored nation status was granted to Britain under this unpopular 1794 treaty. The namesake of this treaty joked that he could find his way across the country from the light of people burning him in effigy. Answer?
Treaty, Smith.
No, I need J's treaty. Toss up 10, after which we'll have a score check and substitution as required. For a city in this country, Vico Akansi, designed a glass and steel half-shell island inside the river. Before they moved to Liechtenstein, the Liechtenstein family built a namesake garden palace in this country. After Denver backed out, a city in this country hosted the 1970. No. Next 5. Hosted the 1976 Winter Olympics, 12 years after it hosted in 1964. This nation's coffee houses allegedly sprung up after it barely survived siege by the Ottomans in 1683. Sacher Tort and Linzer Tort both originate from this country. Its second largest city is Graz, and its fourth largest city, where the Sound of Music was set, is Salzburg. For 10 points, name this country whose largest city is Vienna.
Austria.
That's 10. Your bonus, all 3 acts of this play have the same setting, a room furnished comfortably and tastefully, but not decoratively. For 10 points each, name this realist play that famously ends with its protagonist slamming the door in her husband's face. Answer? A Doll's House. This Norwegian playwright scandalized audiences with his play A Doll's House. Yes. Nora gets into her legal difficulties after forging this character's signature on a bank loan to take Torvald to Italy. Nora complains that both Torvald and this character treated her like she was living in A Doll's House. Yep. That is 20 on the bonus, and that is half. Oh, is that the one that's taken? Let's do that. Drink of water, slow, take care of the score. Are there any substitutions?
Okay, so for scores right now, I have Grayson at 145 before 2 negs added, so that would be 135, and I have Woodford at 70.
Questions, concerns, snide comments, or otherwise? How's the reading check? Slow down. We're good to go? All right. Toss up 11. Halton Arp wrote an atlas about the peculiar type of these objects. A plot of angular velocity of these objects against radius appears roughly flat, which Vera Rubin hypothesized was from the density of dark matter. These things are placed on a diagram that diverges at the neck of a tuning fork. The Shapley-Curtis debate asked if more than one of them exists. These objects are organized into clusters and have halos that contain globular clusters. Large and small Magellanic clouds are examples of these objects. Their shapes may be lenticular, irregular, elliptical, or spiral. For 10 points. Yeah, that's all I needed. 10. Your bonus. This building has a reflecting pool called the Celestial Pool of Abundance for 10 points each. Name this mausoleum in Agra, India, which was constructed by Shah Jahan for his wife. That's 10. This art form is used to decorate the external faces of the Taj Mahal. In Islam, this art form uses kalam to reproduce sections from the Quran. Answer? No. I'm looking for calligraphy. The central chamber of the Taj Mahal containing Mumtaz's tomb is in this shape, which is used in Muslim architecture to represent paradise. The Florence baptistry has this shape. No, I'm looking for octagon. That's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 12. The ballet Giselle was partly based on this author's poem, Phantoms. This author's work also inspired the opera La Gioconda and Rigoletto. A novel by this author ends with 2 skeletons crumbling to dust. This author wrote a novel that begins with the life history of a bishop and has several chapters describing the sewer system. One of his characters saves a gypsy girl from hanging and secludes himself in a cathedral. This author fictionalized the... That's all I needed. Your bonus. Answer the following about consequences of electrostatic induction for 10 points each. A common electroscope invented by Abraham Bennett uses thin strips of this element which attract each other. When a charged rod approaches the electroscope, but repel once the rod makes contact. Answer? Gold. Electrostatic induction explains why this quantity is constant all inside of a conductor. This quantity, symbolized V, is equivalent to the electrical potential. Yep. A conducting shell surrounding a point charge has zero electric field inside the conductor and also at this point. This point is considered to be the reference of zero voltage in most physics problems. Answer?
Absolute.
No, infinity. 10 on bonus. Toss-up 13. This composer's first symphony is the only one in the repertoire in A flat major. A concerto by this composer was never rehearsed before its awful premiere and was only resurrected in a landmark recording by Jacqueline Dupre. One of his works, paradoxically titled Variations on an Original Theme, is dedicated to the composer's friends pictured within and has a cryptic theme. This composer of an E minor cello concerto rearranged the coronation piece, The Land of Hope and Glory, into a march used at graduations in the U.S. For 10 points, name this English composer.
Elmer.
Yep, that's 10. Your bonus. A battle fought in this city was inspired by an attack on a wedding that killed the father of the groom. For 10 points each. Name the city that was under siege from 1992 until 1996. Radovan Karadzic ordered this city's siege and committed war crimes during it. Answer? Sarajevo. The siege of Sarajevo took place during this war, which included a massacre at Srebrenica and the first genocide since World War II. Answer? It's the Bosnian War. The Bosnian War was ignited by the breakup of this ex-communist state encompassing most of Eastern Europe. It was once led by Joseph Tito. Answer? I'm looking for Yugoslavia, 0 on bonus. Toss-up 14. This empire society was strictly divided into an upper caste called Hanan and a lower caste called Hurin. It was divided into 4 provinces led by Apos. Men in this empire were required to farm for 65 days per year and spend the rest on public service. This empire was built around clans called Alyus. Runners trekked 200 miles a day in this empire to share messages. Knotted strings were used to communicate across this extensive road system.
Okay.
Yep, that's 10. Your bonus. James Shepard, the narrator of the murder of Roger Ackroyd, admits that he killed Roger Ackroyd solely for the purpose of fooling this man for 10 points each. Name this character who relies heavily on his little gray cells to solve the mysterious affair at Styles, among others. Answer?
Sherlock Holmes.
Hercule Poirot. Agatha Christie's characterization of Poirot borrows much from this detective created by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Holmes.
Yep. Poirot eventually figures out that 12 different people murdered Mr. Ratchet in this Christie novel, which was both written in and partially set in Istanbul.
Death on the Nile.
No, I'm looking for Murder on the Orient Express. That's 10. Toss-up 15. In one myth, this woman confuses a glass floor for a pool of water and mistakenly pulls up her skirt to reveal goat's legs. This woman forces a man to swear he won't take anything from her, but is forced to break the covenant when she wakes up thirsty in the middle of the night. Her son steals the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem and brings it to St. Mary's Church in the Kebra Nagas. This woman engages in a riddle contest with the man with whom she fathered Menelik. She brings frankincense and myrrh from around the Red Sea when she visits Solomon. Then was named this mythical biblical queen of Ethiopia. That's 10. Your bonus. Finn the human and Jake the dog are the protagonists of this Cartoon Network show for 10 points each. Name this show which takes place in the land of Ood.
Adventure Time.
Yep, that's 10. Finn and Jake's adventures frequently involve thwarting the princess kidnapping schemes of this frosty old wizard who lives in a mountain with his penguins.
Ice King.
The Ice King. 20. This character of Adventure Time and Bravest Warriors also worked on, this creator of Adventure Time and Bravest Warriors also worked on the marvelous misadventures of Flapjack as a writer and storyboard artist.
Pendleton Ward.
That's 30.
Good job. That's right.
Toss up 16. A song from this musical describes a cow from Cyberland who claims the only thing to do
Rent.
power. Your bonus. This princess is playing with a ball with her maidens naked when she comes across an unbelievably handsome naked Odysseus for 10 points each. Name this inhabitant of Phaeacia who gives instructions to Odysseus to approach the palace of her father, King Alcinous. Nausicaa. In some stories, Nausicaa marries this son of Odysseus who visits Nestor and Menelaus early on in the Odyssey. Answer? It's Telemachus. Odysseus washes up on this island of on the island of Phaeacia after weathering a storm sent by this god, this Greek god of the sea, is the main adversary in the Odyssey. That's 10. Toss up 17. A character in this novel gives birth to a son in a convent and sends the baby floating down a river in a basket. Two indistinguishable twins in this novel are buried in each other's coffins. A flood that lasts for 5 years begins the day after a massacre in this book. A long, undeciphered prophecy in this novel predicts a boy will be devoured by ants. A successful general in this book has 17 children, all with the same name, all of whom were assassinated. Many characters in this novel have variants of the name Jose Arcadio. This novel, set in Macondo, describes 7 generations of... That's all I needed. 10. Your bonus. Christian de Castries, the losing commander of this battle, was held as prisoner of war for 10 points each. In this 1954 battle, during which the French got destroyed by the Viet Minh and got kicked straight out of Indochina. I don't write these things. Answer? Battle of Dien Bien Phu. The first Indochina War was ended with a conference at this Swiss city. This city's namesake conventions outlined the basic rights of prisoners of war. That's 10. This man came to power in South Vietnam after the Geneva Conference and instituted a dictatorship propped up by the U.S. This Catholic man was assassinated in 1963. Answer?
Bushman.
No, it's Diem. 10 on the bonus. Toss up 18. 3 days before this speech, its speaker and Roy Wilkins got interrogated by Bayard Rustin on Meet the Press. Mahalia Jackson encouraged the speaker to improvise. At one point, this speech quotes the entirety of "My country, 'tis of thee." This speech begins 5 years ago, alluding to the Gettysburg Address. Its speaker says that America... That's all I need, 10. Your bonus. This non-heart, non-kidney structure has mitral cells and a spherical component called the glomerulus for 10 points each. Name this portion of the forebrain responsible for the sense of smell. Answer? Olfactory bulb. During embryonic development, the largest section of the forebrain develops into this structure, the brain center of cognition. It is split into 2 hemispheres separated by the corpus callosum. No, it's the cerebrum, sorry. This lobe of the cerebrum is responsible for speech, language, and decision making. The primary motor cortex is found in the dorsal part of this lobe. No, it's the frontal lobe. 0 on the bonus. Toss up 19. For the first time ever, all SATs were canceled across this country in May 2013. During this country's 2012 parliamentary elections, the NIS spy agency was accused of manipulating votes to defeat an antivirus software mogul. A president from here in the early 2000s introduced the Sunshine Policy. The first non-Middle Eastern outbreak of MERS took place in this country in 2015. Nearly 300 school students drowned on a ferry boat in this country in 2014. It has conglomerates called cables. It disputes the Leoncourt rocks with Japan. For 10 points, name this country which engages in many standoffs with its communists.
South Korea.
Yep. Your bonus. This author wrote about the abusive relationship of Marvin Macy and Amelia Evans in her novel The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. For 10 points each, name the Southern Gothic author who wrote about John Singer, who has nothing better to do than listen to Biff Brannon and Jake Blunt complain in her novel The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. I'm looking for Carson McCullers. In The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, John Singer is afflicted with this condition. The main character of Ambrose Bierce's Chickamauga is a child with this medical condition. Deaf mute. Carson McCullers is from this U.S. state. The setting of The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. This state is also the setting of James Dickey's Deliverance and McKinley Cantor's Andersonville. Answer? Georgia. Toss up 20, the last. An assay to detect binding affinity induces this phenomenon at electronic surface plasmons. Hermann von Helmholtz names a form of this effect occurring in an empty cavity. This process occurs at every normal mode, spaced by multiples of velocity over 2 times distance for an open tube. An RLC circuit showing this effect has the least energy loss. A pendulum used as a mass damper was installed into Taipei 101 to counteract this effect, which is often blamed for the collapse of a bridge in Tacoma. 10 points. Name this wave phenomenon which occurs at a... Yep, that's all I needed. Your bonus: an angel holds down a palm leaf to this man in a painting housed in the Contarelli Chapel for 10 points each. Name this biblical character who in another painting is illuminated by a ray of light and is pointing to himself as Christ enters the room. Answer?
God.
St. Matthew. Those paintings of St. Matthew were completed by this Baroque master of chiaroscuro. Answer? Caravaggio. Caravaggio pioneered this technique, the extreme use of chiaroscuro, where the background is usually completely ensconced in darkness.
Silhouette.
Tenebrism. 0 on the bonus. Good match both teams. Oh, we're
Who got that last question over resin? Was that you or Chris?
So we have 275, 135.
I had 255 as well.
I got 255 as well.
All right, it looks like we missed next. What next do you have?
Just the two on 2 and 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I have.